Hello, chismosas y chismosos, and welcome back to Bay Area Housewife of True Crime. We are at part 2 of David Carpenter, the Trailside Killer. As a reminder, topics may be triggering. Viewer and listener discretion is strongly advised. The people mentioned are innocent until proven guilty in court. On October 15, 1980, forever 26-year-old Ann Alderson also decided to hike at Mount Tam. Anne was a former Peace Corps volunteer and liked to jog. Her lifeless body was found the next day. She had been shot with a .38 caliber gun to the head and had been raped, and then she was made to put her clothes back on before she was killed, and was found face up against a rock. On November 27, 1980, forever 25-year-old Shauna May went missing while hiking at the Point Reyes National Seashore Park. After she failed to show up to her scheduled hike the next day with friends, they immediately alerted park rangers. Her body was found 2 days later after hikers found her body. Shauna had been raped, strangled to death with a picture frame wire, shot 3 times in the head, and had been shoved in a shallow grave with parts of her body sticking out. The same day, forever 22-year-old Diane O'Connell's body was found next to Shauna's. Diane had been missing for a month prior while she was hiking at Point Reyes. David had raped Diane before strangling her to death with a wire and shooting her in the head once. Both Shauna and Diane's clothes were piled up together. Diane and Shauna did not know each other. On top of all of that same day as well, forever 19-year-old Richard Towers and forever 18-year-old Cynthia Moreland were also found dead. They had been missing since October 11th, 1980. They had gone missing after telling friends they were going to go hiking at Point Reyes. As a matter of fact, Richard was in the Coast Guard and had been listed as absent without leave. On March 29, 1981, UC David students and couple Ellen Hansen and Stephen Hurdle decided to go hiking at Henry Cowell State Park near Santa Cruz. David came up to the couple with the gun in hand. He had the audacity to ask Stephen for permission to rape his girlfriend. Despite being in a vulnerable position, Stephen found it in himself to stand up to David and tell him off. David then fired his gun at Ellen's head twice and once in the shoulder. David then proceeded to shoot Stephen and left him for dead. David didn't expect Stephen to live to give a description of him. A description that was extremely instrumental and ultimately led to catching a serial killer. A composite sketch based on Stephen's description matched David. He was described to be a Caucasian man that looked close to 50 years old, between 5'10" and 6 feet tall, with crooked yellow teeth, glasses, wearing a gold jacket and a baseball cap, about 170 pounds. Stephen detailed this predator as speaking in, quote, quick, commanding sentences, unquote. Other witnesses also reported seeing a red foreign car in the area, and David drove a cute little red Fiat. In hopes of finding the perp, police released the composite sketch based on Stephen's account, and 4 days after the newspapers published the articles, a woman called the authorities and said that the composite sketch matched a man she had met 26 years earlier while she was on a cruise ship to Japan. She said that the man was named David Carpenter and he worked on the cruise ship. She described how he had been hitting on her and her daughter. On May 1st of 1981, forever 20-year-old Heather Skaggs needed to buy a new car. She was like me and did not know much about cars, so she sought the help of a coworker who offered to go with her to Santa Cruz and look at a potential buy. Heather worked as an assistant printer at a Econo Quick Print at the California Trade School in Hayward, California. That's where she met David, and she lived with a roommate and her boyfriend in the Willow Glen district of San Jose, California. Heather told them that if she did not come back by 3 p.m., they needed to call the police. Dan Pingle called the San Jose Police Department, where he was met with Sergeant Ken Womack, who told him and the press that, and I quote, "An adult has the right to walk away, and sometimes such person will return home after a couple of days," unquote. Heather's body was found on May 24th of 1981 at the Big Basin Redwood State Park in the Santa Cruz Mountains. Ballistic showed she was killed by the same gun used on Ellen Hansen and Stephen Hurdle. Heather had been raped, and the DNA evidence of the semen left inside her matched David Carpenter. On June 16th of 1981, forever 17-year-old Ana Menjivas's jawbone was found by rock climbers in Castle Rock State Park in the Santa Cruz Mountains. Ana had been missing since December 28th of 1980. She was a teller at the bank David went to. "Many moons ago, I was a teller at Wells Fargo, and some customers took a certain liking to certain employees and would often wait for their favorite teller to be available. David was those types of customers, and the bank personnel believed David only came to the bank to talk to Ana. Although authorities were certain that he killed her, they were not able to charge him officially, but her name was added to the list of a total of 10 victims that we know of the Trailside killer, David Carpenter."